All right, another video in the Subaru saga. 6.0 SP 170, also the 7.0, and most of them are all the same. So in this video, we're going to be doing the valves. Go over the valve adjustment, and again, it's pretty much the same for all of them. It is an overhead cam engine, so there's a little bit of a difference. This is a small, these are all small engines, and they're very sensitive to these adjustments. About 100 hours or so is when you should do it. Let's see. So I put this motor together. This came from the Hurricane Sandy rigid build, where I had a lot of, I wound up with 2 frames and motors, and I think it was only 1 pump. I don't remember, but this would have been a rigid machine over 10 years ago, about 15 now. So 5 years since I put out the video on this Hurricane Sandy rigid build. And again, this motor came from 2. So 1 was really rotted. It was saltwater incursion from the hurricane, and it was left to sit. So built from 2. So when I took everything apart, putting it together again, similar to what I'm doing in this series, I did the valves. And at that time, I adjusted everything, checked everything out. So that was the last time. So now we're in end of September now, 2025. So that I use it a lot because with this business, almost everything gets cleaned, and generally with a pressure washer. And it's often this one, unless I'm building another one. As you can see, I like to build different packages, either for myself or to sell. And I get to have a lot of fun doing it. So we're going to get on this. Now, one little word of like a note here. Since this time, I've been sort of practicing with the concept of adjust to tight. Because like this one here was only a little bit out. And sometimes, depending upon the setup, you can actually tighten everything up and it will adjust the clearance inward. Not on one of these, because the pole piece, the center piece with that little square, which I need to get a tool for, that is really the adjustment. And then the outer piece is the lock. So when you have something like that, you can't do an adjust to tight. It's a little finicky, takes a bit of time, you need patience. Let's go through it together. Here, I already took the bolts off, and I just screwdriver. That's what I'm always looking for. An area where, here's another price spot, where the least amount of destruction. Like I said, this has not been off since I put this motor together. Another nice thing too is this was removed, so I put this on with RTV. I don't see any signs of leaks. And it's a long time ago now. I don't know, years. I gotta look back. So it looks like it had a little bit of RTV here. There's a little bit of a break in the gasket there. So what we'll do right now is I'm going to clean this off camera, and I'm just going to put a skin coat of RTV in these areas, so we don't have, mostly just in these areas where I see little issues. We're not going to try to scrape that off. We're just going to leave it, and then we'll go through the valve adjustments. So a little brake fluid, brake cleaner, wipe it with a rag or a paper towel, skin coat it. I'll show you when I'm done, and then we'll be back. Everything looks really clean. The oil is even clean. I can see there's like droplets of gold in. So we're all good. And then we'll check the valves. Probably just need to check them. Nice timing chain. Just love it. Just love it. Quiet, reliable. All right, so before we even check timing and valve clearance, we need to set it up and time it. So I've highlighted these 2 marks on the camshaft here, and they should be, parallel with the mounting surface here of the gasket, top of the head. And also, the key should be in the vertical. And also for us, so we can see here, I've got a yellow mark right at the center of, on the flywheel here where the magnet goes, all right? So now I want to turn it over and make sure that we are where we are. So let's see. This is, up here is our exhaust valve. This is our intake. So let me just prop that up a little. So here we are. This should be TDC. Let's get our, yep, feels like it's up at the top. I can kind of feel where that is. So let's rotate it. So the cup of the flywheel is going in this direction. So we should be turning it, when I'm looking at the flywheel, this will be clockwise. So let's start turning it and see what's going on here. Let's just watch it. Oh, there we got an exhaust event, which would make sense because it would have fired, you know, built up compression, then fired. Now you got to get rid of that bad gas and exhaust. So there goes the exhaust. And I want you to see, yeah, that's about good. All right, now we're going to get an intake event. All right. And the piston should be pretty much downstairs. Should be. Is it going down? Let's see. So the piston's still going down. We're going to suck in some fresh air, fresh fuel and air, charge, in, or what we'll call a charge. Coming back up. All right, she's sitting down here. I can feel her. She's down around bottom dead center. All right, coming back up. All right, now that might be, we're coming up for compression. So that could be our ACR right there. Yeah, because you would always want to blow, if you want to get rid of a little bit of compression, you're going to want to do it on the exhaust side, never on the intake. Because if it blew back after sucking in, you know, the intake side and the carburetors are made to suck. So if that compression were to blow back, it would disrupt the flow of air and fuel coming in, or charge coming in and filling the cylinder. And it would come back, puke out the carburetor, screw up the signal, screw up the carburetor. That would be no good. So an exhaust event is what we would see. We're compressing now, and where are we? So here we are right here. We're almost at TDC. So I'm feeling it right there. And so look where we are. We're over there, and look at where our key is. Our key is correct. And look at where our ignition is. Another reason why I like to do this way. And look, all right, we would have fired somewhere. We would have fired around here. There's a spark lead. There's always a spark lead. You start firing spark to get the propagation. You get your spark kernel, you know, going, to get the flame front propagation, to start pushing on that cylinder. So you start it early. Most engines are slightly advanced, and there is no way to adjust that here. We will check that too, by the way, the clearance. We'll do that in a bit. But that's controlled inside the electronics here on the coil. So we want to check our valves, we want to be right about there. So now we can kind of get in there, and it might be a little difficult to get in these because there's a bend. The way the rocker arm is reinforced, there's a bend that goes down here, and there's a bend that goes down here. So it's no problem getting in here, but up here where this muffler hat is, that might be a problem. Let me go get a feeler gauge. Okay, so they're calling out in millimeters, it's 0.12. And I have, or 0.0047 inch. And if I look here, I'll read it off. My 004 is 0.102, and my 005 is 0.127. So we're right between 0.004, for those of us in actual units, 0.0014, that's 4 thousandths to 5 thousandths. And they're not really calling out any plus or minus. So let's stick that in there. I'm feeling a little tug. And on 5 thousandths, I feel a little bit more of a tug. It could come in a little. Now we may need to take this guy off to help us get in here. Let's see. Can we just sneak it in? That's going to be a little tough. I have to pull it towards me, fellas. I got to work on it. So I'm going to just pull it towards me, but you get the idea. I'm going to try to come in from this side. Yeah. Easier on this side. Still a bit of a pain in the neck, but let me get my light. You can be a little bit more forgiving on exhaust because it grows from the heat a little bit more, but on the intake you can definitely be a little bit more precise. So that feels about right. What am I using? The 004. Let's see if we have the 005. Sorry, I know the light's going to be in your face, fellas, but you got to give me a minute. I can't see it. Let me move this out of the way. The 004. I really don't want to take this hat off, but there's also a bracket in the way. Now, when I did this, I had everything apart, and that's a little bit tight. So exhaust is good. Now let's just feel this again. And that should be a little bit tighter. So let's set up for it. That should be a little bit tighter. So there's a flat there. And what can I take? Let me go get set up for it and we'll adjust it. All right, 9mm. So what we want to try to do is we want to turn, this is the adjuster, the centerpiece. This is your jam nut. So this rocker arm is threaded, fine thread. This adjuster with the flat on the end of it, right, this stem here, that's your adjuster. That's actually what's touching the tip of the valve. And the other thing is just a jam nut. So we don't want to lose our space. So I'm just going to grab the end. You grab with a pair of pliers or something, anything really. Let's just see if it'll, all right, you don't have to get that crazy with it. Let's just grab the end. Let's see how tight it is. It's tight. Oh boy. Oh, it's tight. All right, so now we're going to have to go, we want to try to be careful here. I don't have anything else that will grab that and really hold it. Well, I'd rather use a little vice grip, honestly, because I want to know, my little vice grip, I want to know that we're going to be able to loosen this without issue. And I don't want to move this thing too much because we're close, so I don't want to lose that sweet closeness and adjustment we have. Now, let's see, I'm going to get in here and kind of bear down on it. There it goes. All right, now we can be a little bit more ginger with it. All right, so now it's loose. Well, not really loose, but it's a little looser. Let's see if we can turn it in just a scotch. Yup. Now we want to snug it because even though it's fine thread, you're going to take up some of that slack in the thread and it's going to make a change in the adjustment. So we want to snug it. So here's our 5. 5 feels a little tight. And we should now go with the 4. See, with these, the valve springs are so weak that if you stick the feeler gauger in, just a little bit more, and it could compress the spring if it actually is too tight. Yeah, that's good. See how I just keep sneaking it in? I just want to feel it. It should tug a little bit on it, but not a lot. I got to get something to hold these pole pieces, but you only do this. I've seen it in situations where I get these motors in and no one ever adjusts the valves, fellas. They just don't. So it's pretty rare. They say 100 miles, 100 hours. Yeah, this could be a little bit better. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now let's tighten it. Take this stuff off and feel it again. Yeah, see, it changes. It changes a little bit when I take those tools off because it's so minuscule. Yeah, she got to come in a little bit. It actually changes when I take the stupid tool off. It's very lightweight valve gear. I think sometimes it's better to adjust on the tightening session than on a loosening session. 5/1000ths, it definitely feels better. Right, so we could bring it in just a scotch more. We are so close, just to be nitpicky. So let's make sure that's tight. Let's make sure that's tight. I'm going to roll it through. I'm going to check it again, but we basically are done. And I put a little bit of RTV up in here. Just a little bit. Probably could use just a little bit more there. Just in the corners. And it was a little while ago. As you see, I'm touching it. Run it through with a Q-tip. RTV black. Use the black. Don't use anything that's like high heat because it's not fuel proof. And I said we're good to go, so I'm going to check that out. Let's roll it through. There's your intake. All right, this is an overlap. There's our intake doing our thing, sucking. A lot of times I talk about overlap, but I'm not gonna, nobody understands it. Looks like we're coming in to compress. There's our exhaust, get rid of the bad gases. There's our little dip. We should be coming up to compress. I see where's my coil mark? Oh, down here. All right, there's our little dip again. Let's look for our marks. Mark is literally right there. That feels good. We'll go to the 5. There we go. All right, we'll put the valve cover on and we'll move to the next step. Five to 7 on these guys. I find that when I use the stubby and 1/4 inch drive, I pretty much arrive at where I need to be. That's why I often say using stubbies and 1/4 inch drive, these are small engines. It doesn't take much. All right, so that's it right now for the engine workups. But coming up will be, at some point, will be me putting this engine not on a rigid frame. I actually set up a Briggs motor on the rigid frame and give that to my sister whenever she picks it up. But this is going to go on an old DeVilbiss, I think, frame. You guys have seen these around, which I changed the wheels. I had picked up a Craftsman a while back with a Briggs motor on it, and I took the wheels and I took the engine off, and I think that might even be the engine that's going on my sister's with the rigid frame. I don't need the rigid frame. I don't like it. The handle folds down. That's all nice. This just gives me a lot more room on this gray frame that I put together years ago, and we're going to modify it, put it on there, change the bolt spacing and all of that, and it just allows me to easily put whatever pump I want on. So let's say, for example, I want to, I get another pump, or I'm working on a pump and I want to test it, make a quick change. Originally, there was a Honda motor on this frame, and when the pull cord like this one broke, it was sandwiched up against that back bar, and you had to take the motor off to change the pull cord. And that's common on the red one with the newer Briggs motor. And so another reason why I like to kind of put these together, because no matter what brand you buy, Troy built, MTD, makes that stuff, whatever it is, it's just some manufacturer that buys wheels from somebody, buys bolts from somebody, has somebody, or they make the frame, but they got to buy the motor. Could be Briggs, could be Subaru, could be, a new Chinese. They got to buy the pump, could be Italian. We're going to be putting an Italian pump on. We're going to be putting the cat pump back. So we'll just go through that real quick in one of the next videos. They're getting a wand from somewhere, and Rigid has their own wands, which are actually very nice. I kept that. So that's what you kind of run into. So why not, Arch will do it, right? So I like to do that, and then I can check out this stuff, and usually I'll keep this stuff around for a year or two. And because they're getting older, and, both my AR pump and my cat pump now are going to need to be rebuilt. That'll be other videos. I hope this is helpful. So it'll all be in a folder, what I call a folder or a playlist. And then in my valves list, doing valves, whatever, that's a separate playlist. This will probably be in there because there's a number of other videos I've got in there, different tips, tricks, techniques, and different engines. So again, hopefully this was helpful. Thanks for sticking around and watching Arch's Garage. Hopefully you made it to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.